Oh, so you know that I had 30 embryos?
I don't know, but that is the process.
No, it's not.
Okay.
I had one embryo, and he turned into my son named. You think that's wrong?
So you're saying to get that one baby, how many babies were lost because of
0. We went through the whole process. There was only one viable embryo, and now that's. So nothing was.
Praise God for that.
How many?
I do.
How many embryos? How many embryos were discarded before that?
0.
That's
sir.
not possible. You'd be the first.
Well, maybe I am.
You're not.
Okay, so do you want to go in there and talk to my doctor?
I'd be glad to talk to him, because this is just CDC, Centers for Disease Control statistics that these people report
So maybe
to.
that's for other people. I'm not a statistic. Are you a statistic?
We're all
Do you have
statistics.
kids?
We're all statistics.
Do you have a kid?
Does that make me a statistic?
Do you have a kid?
Yes, I have kids.
Did you have any assistance?
No.
And are you alive today because you had 0 medicine through the entire...
This isn't an issue of medicine. If we're talking about sacrifice of human life in order to get what you want, and that's what we're here for, because embryos are created. They grade them. They take only the top 2 grades. Others die by attrition. And you're going to say that you didn't have any that died? No, I don't believe it. Because that's not the math or the science that goes on here. That's why they fertilize so many eggs. And you know this.
I'm telling you, my scenario is that we had one viable...
Okay, what about the eggs that were fertilized, that successfully fertilized?
I think that my body, my wife's body, is your concern. You wake up
Because we're
you come
talking about the
stand here.
slaughter of human lives to get the ones that are wanted. That's why it's a concern.
So I think the fundamental disagreement is about, is an embryo that is not viable,
Yeah,
medically
Right.
not viable,
right.
that's still a human
That's
life?
the issue. Because embryology textbooks say that when they're fertilized successfully, that is a human life. That's what what they study to become embryologists. That's what their textbooks say.
As a human life, if my wife, and I'm very curious as your opinions on this, if my wife has a, let's call it, I'm making up a scenario, a test tube, and she's holding an embryo,
Yeah.
and she's driving down the highway, can she go in the HOV lane?
Well, I can tell you, I don't know what the law says about that, but I can tell you it's a human life. A fertilized egg, it's an embryo. It is a human life. I don't know what the law says about that, but I'm just saying.
What the law says.
Well, I'm just saying what it is. The law doesn't determine facts, so it doesn't determine scientific facts. The law often does things.
I totally agree that if an embryo is created, it has the possibility of becoming a human life if a lot of other factors play.
Well,
miscarriage, should that be treated like a death of a family member?
I think I ought to. Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
So I should be on bereavement leave.
We've had miscarriages. They're real human lives, man. I mean.
No, tell me about that.
I'm trying to help you. So
did your, let's say your wife drank or something.
Yeah.
Did she murder the baby?
You could make that argument, I guess, but what I'm trying to get at is, and people talk about that all the time. If you go to an OBGYN, what do they tell you? Don't drink. Why? Not because it's part of your body, it's a cell.
Sure, but as a fact, we're talking facts.
I'm talking about facts too. And so they're not talking about law when they do that. As a fact, the OBGYN, who deals with science and facts,
is that murder?
I would say, yeah, it is.
Okay.
So, but here's what we're getting at. So, when you have conception, you have fertilization, you've got the life. You have human life. It's alive. The cells are dividing. So it's science. That's alive, and it's human. It's not like octopus or something, right? So it's put the two together. It is human life, and even the embryology textbooks say that. So the reason why we're out here is we're saying,
Okay.
Would you agree with that?
I mean, it is a seed that you plant in the ground an oak tree if it just sits there and never germinates?
That's not. But if you plant it in the ground and it germinates, we're talking about something that's germinated. When you have an egg that's fertilized, it's germinated. That's life. If you have an oak seed in the ground that's germinated, that's life. And so what we're talking about here is human life. And so anytime, you know, we're taking human life, that's an ethical concern.
So if one cell turns into 2 cells,
It's alive.
you think that's a life?
That's what the embryology
rights
text,
should
that's
that
not
life
just
have?
what I think.
What rights should that life have?
Pardon me?
What rights should that?
All rights, the same rights you and I have.
It's a human
Yeah.
being.
Okay,
It's
so
a living human right.
let's carry that out.
Yeah.
So now you have a 2-cell pre-human. You say
Pre-embryonic. It's
not-
human-
It's,
it's-
it's,
Human being and fertilization.
It's just a different stage of human development. So like, okay, you got babies after, let's say talk about after they're born. You got babies, you got toddlers, you got, you know, I don't know, elementary school kids, they're growing. They're stages of human life and development. It's just another stage of human life that's happening, you know, well, in most cases in the womb, you know, in the uterus, but here,
do you love your kids? by the way?
absolutely, yeah.
What would life have been like if you tried and tried and tried and then nothing ever happened? Do you think your life would be different?
Sure.
Do you think that other people deserve to like get to the point where you've gotten?
I think everybody, like if you have trouble conceiving and everything, there's a lot of things they do here other than IVF, right? So they do other options as well. I think you explore all the options, and like my friend did here, did you adopt?
No, we were ready to adopt it, then we
Carrie adopted. Carrie's infertile. She adopted children. So there's other options to this. If it comes down to an issue of
To have a natural baby at some point.
not to have a natural baby, but there are other options to have children.
Well, to adopt children.
Right, that's what I mean.
To raise children.
Right, to raise children.
I guess I mean I get where you guys are coming from.
Okay.
And I hope you grant that not everybody thinks the way you do.
Oh, absolutely.